In the heart of the Maasai lands, under the vast skies of East Africa, there lived a young woman named Amina. She was the daughter of a respected village elder, strong, wise, and bound to her tribe by blood and tradition. Every morning, she woke as the sun rose over the endless plains, greeting the day with grace and a heart full of duty. Amina's life was set, like the land she walked on. She was promised to Omar, a fierce warrior chosen by her family. Her destiny seemed certain, her love for Omar expected as tradition demanded, but in her heart, Amina dreamed of something more. What Amina didn't know was that change was already stirring in the land, change that would force her to choose between duty and love. Jabari was a warrior, his name known throughout the Maasai clans. He fought with courage, but it was the courage to fight for peace that weighed on his heart. His tribe, like all others, was caught in an endless war, fighting for land, for cattle, for survival. But Jabari, unlike his comrades, questioned the bloodshed. He believed there was another way, a path that could unite his people. Yet loyalty to his tribe kept him bound to the violence. Fate brought him into Amina's life, not on the battlefield, but in the quiet moments between wars, moments when their hearts found a connection beyond the enemy lines. One evening, when the moon hung high in the sky, Amina and Jabari met in secret. She had heard stories of his bravery, and he had heard whispers of her wisdom. In the stillness of the night, their eyes met across the open plains, and in that moment, everything changed. Their love, forbidden by the very tribes they were born to protect, blossomed in the shadows. Amina felt her heart pull toward Jabari, a love that called to her deeper than tradition ever could. And Jabari, though torn by his duty, couldn't ignore the bond they shared. They spoke of a future where war no longer divided their people, where love would be their greatest strength. But even as their hearts grew closer, the world around them continued to fall into chaos. Back in the village, Amina's family grew anxious as her wedding to Omar drew nearer. Her father, a wise elder, saw this union as the only path to securing peace for their people. Omar, though loyal and strong, was bound to war. He believed in the power of the spear, not in the possibility of peace. Amina, however, could no longer ignore her heart. She stood before her father and the elders, torn between her love for Jabari and the duty she owed her people. The weight of her family's expectations pressed on her. She could not bear to disappoint them, but her love for Jabari called her to defy tradition. Jabari, too, was torn. As the enemy tribe advanced once more, his people prepared for a final raid. He was chosen to lead it. The fate of many depended on his leadership, but what was victory if it came at the cost of love? In the midst of this war, Jabari stood at the edge of a cliff, gazing over the battlefield. The land he had fought to protect seemed to stretch endlessly before him. The faces of the people he loved, the tribe he swore to defend, were at war with the person he had become. He could no longer choose the sword. The cost of war was too great, and yet his tribe needed him. Amina needed him. The battle raged beneath them as Jabari and Amina stood together, their love now a beacon of hope and defiance. But even as they held each other, they both knew there could be no peace without sacrifice. Amina, standing by Jabari's side, had a choice to make. Should she honor the love that had grown between them, risking everything to defy the traditions of her people? Or would she marry Omar, as planned, and continue the cycle of war her family had fought to sustain for generations? In that moment, with the future of their people hanging in the balance, Jabari and Amina made a decision that would either heal their world or tear it apart. When the dust finally settled, the war had ended, not through the clash of weapons, but through the bravery of those who dared to dream of peace. Amina and Jabari's love had inspired others, and slowly,